It is Monday morning, your alarm goes off in the dark. You drag yourself up, you commute, you sit at a desk for 8 hours, maybe 9, maybe 10. You do it again on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. For most of your adult life, we treat this as simply how life works, as if humans were always meant to spend their days like this. But your body was not designed for any of this. For almost the entire history of our species, jobs did not exist. No alarms, no bosses, no offices, no Mondays. So here is a question that should genuinely stop you. What did ancient humans actually do all day with no work to go to and no clock to obey? The answer is stranger than you would guess, and it might make you a little jealous, because in one surprising way, your distant ancestors may have had something you do not: free time. To understand this, we have to zoom out, way out. Our species is around 300,000 years old. For roughly 97% of that time, every human on Earth lived the same basic way, as a hunter-gatherer. They did not farm. They did not own shops. They did not go to work in any sense you would recognize. They lived in small bands, moving through the land. They took what nature already provided. They hunted animals. They gathered plants, roots, and berries. And then, crucially, they stopped. There was no promotion to chase, no savings to build. When they had enough for the day, they were done. This is a completely different way of living. And to us, it sounds almost impossible. So how many hours did that life actually take? In the 1960s, an anthropologist went to find out. He lived with a group of hunter-gatherers in the Kalahari Desert, a harsh, dry place, not an easy paradise. He watched carefully and he counted their hours, and what he found stunned the world. On average, they spent only a few hours a day finding food, add in cooking, tool making, and building shelter, and it came to roughly 20 hours a week. 20 hours for everything. That is less than half of a modern working week. And remember, this was in a desert. An anthropologist named Marshall Solins looked at this gist and gave these people a surprising new title. He called them the Original Affluent Society. Not affluent because they had a lot. Affluent because they needed very little. They were rich in the one thing we are always short of: time. So if they only worked a handful of hours, what did they do with the rest of the day? The answer is the part that might make you envious. They rested, often in the middle of the day. They napped in the shade when the sun was high. They talked for hours. Conversation was entertainment, news, and connection all at once. They told stories around the fire at night, long winding tales of ancestors, animals, and spirits. They made music and they danced. They played games and they laughed. They visited neighboring bands and formed friendships. Children were not sent away to be taught. They learned by watching, playing, and copying the adults. Adults had time to simply be with those children. There was, in a word, a lot of leisure, not earned on a 2-week holiday, just woven into the fabric of ordinary life. But here is where we have to be careful and honest, because it is easy to romanticize this. Their life was not one long, lazy holiday. Some newer research pushes that famous number higher. When you count every single task fairly, the total can climb toward 40 hours a week, closer to a modern job than the old story suggests. So the hours themselves may not be so different, but the feeling of those hours was. And that difference is everything. Because their work did not feel like our work. There was no boss watching over their shoulder, no clock counting down their freedom, no commute, no separation of work and life. When they gathered plants, they chatted with family. When they made tools, friends sat nearby. Work and social life were the same thing. It was not clocking in. It was simply living. So what happened? Why do we live so differently now? The answer is one of the biggest turning points in history. About 10,000 years ago, humans invented farming, and on the surface, it looks like pure progress. Grow your own food, settle down, build villages. But farming came with a hidden cost. Suddenly, humans had to work the land. All day, every day, plowing, planting, weeding, watering, harvesting. A field does not let you nap in the afternoon. It demands attention from sunrise to sunset. The variety of the forager's diet shrank down to a few staple crops like wheat or rice. Their diet became less nutritious, not more. Skeletons from this era are often shorter and sicker than the hunter-gatherers who came before. For the first time, humans could store food, which meant for the first time some could hoard it, and others could be made to work for them. The endless workday, in a sense, was born in that field. And there was a deeper trap hidden inside farming. The hunter-gatherer wanted little, and so had enough. But farming let people want and chase more. More land, more grain, more possessions, and more is a hunger that is never satisfied. You can always own a little more than you do, so the work never truly ends. We built a world of astonishing abundance, far more comfort than any forager ever knew. But we may have lost something in the trade. The forager finished the day's work and was truly done. We finish one task and another is always waiting. They measured wealth by how little they needed. We measure it by how much we can get. And so we are surrounded by plenty and still feel somehow that there is never enough. Now, I do not want to paint a false picture. Their lives were not perfect and not always gentle. There was danger and hunger in the lean seasons. There was no medicine when a child fell ill. Many did not live as long as we do now. This is not a call to throw away everything we have built. Our world of comfort and safety is a real gift, but their lives hold up a mirror to ours. And in that mirror, one thing stands out clearly. They did not live to work. They worked a little in order to live. And then they spent the rest of their time simply being alive. If that idea just landed somewhere in you, take a second and hit like. It genuinely helps the channel. And this is where their world reaches into yours, because your body still expects that older life. You were shaped over hundreds of thousands of years for a life of varied days and long stretches of rest, for work that was social and slow and shared. Instead, you sit still for 8 hours, mostly alone. You stare at a screen under artificial light. You separate your work from your life by a hard wall. And then you wonder why you feel so tired, why Monday morning fills you with a quiet dread. That feeling is not a personal failing. It is an ancient body living in a modern cage. You are a hunter-gatherer wearing office clothes, built for the forest, sitting in a cubicle. None of this means your job is wrong or pointless, but it might explain a feeling you have never named. That sense that this is not quite how life should feel, that there should be more time, more rest, more people. That quiet longing is not weakness, it is memory. It is your deep history whispering, reminding you of a life your body still half remembers, a life with time in it. We tell ourselves that constant work is natural, that being busy is simply what it means to be human. But that is one of the newest ideas we have ever had. For almost all of our story, it was not true at all. For 300,000 years, we were not workers. We were something older and freer than that. We hunted a little, gathered a little, and rested a lot. We sat together and talked and watched the fire. That is the life that made us who we are. The 9 to 5 is barely a blink of history old. It is not written into your bones. It was built very recently by other people, which means it is not a law of nature. It is just one arrangement among many possible ones. And once you see that, something shifts. The way we live starts to look less like destiny and more like a choice we have half forgotten we made. A choice that could one day be made differently. So think back to that Monday morning alarm, the dark room, the commute, the 8 hours at the desk. It feels timeless, permanent, simply how things are. But now you know it is almost brand new. For nearly all of human history, no one lived this way. Your ancestors woke without alarms. They worked a few hours among people they loved. And then the day was theirs to rest, to talk, to play, to simply exist. They were not richer than us in things. They were richer than us in time, And some part of you on that Monday morning already knows exactly what that would feel like, because your body has never quite forgotten it. We are the animal that used to have time, that hunted, gathered, and then simply lived. We traded that life for comfort, safety, and plenty, and we gained a great deal in the bargain. But it is worth remembering what we gave away. A day that belonged fully to the person living it. That is what ancient humans did all day. They lived slowly, together, and on their own time. So tell me in the comments, if you had their free time, how would you spend your day? Think about it honestly. And if you want more of the hidden history that shaped you, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.